Hello.
Hey, it worked. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Stephanie, was it just stuck with you having to start it? I don't know if I can't hear you, but maybe it was whatever we did last time. Whatever we did last time, I was able to start it just by myself. We do have a situation today, unexpectedly. I'm stuck with, so we'll see how this goes. I brought out all the artillery, but I don't know what's going to work here. I'm wondering if Kyle's going to show up too. He's been helping on the map some, but if he doesn't, we'll get going. And really, depending on who shows up, we might just kind of talk about how to help with this thing again and get more people helping it. Ryan, I don't think I've seen you since maybe the first couple cartography calls.
I've been doing stuff, but I'm here now.
You've been on the surveys, right?
Yeah.
And then Jenny,
yeah.
Jenny, sorry. Have you been on the surveys too?
I did the class, and I haven't been able to do anything after just because of conflicts, but hoping I can get up to speed
you're
a
fine.
bit.
If anything, you could help from the computer side, which is where we need some help now. And then hello, Pete, and hello, Howard.
Yeah, first time caller, long time listener.
And Howard's our special guest tonight, unexpectedly. I'm going to share my screen and I got a list of bullet points here. And Ryan and Jenny, I'd really kind of like to target this towards you guys as a Q&A if you're interested in helping with this portion of it, and how we've sort of set that up to kind of jump into pretty easily. So I'm hoping I was going to go over sort of rocks and how to do those, but I think I'm going to hold off because the only person that was kind of ready for that was Kyle. So I was going to do a quick little how-to on that, and then jump into what I'm going to jump into now. Ryan or Jenny, have you guys seen any of the other recordings or checked out the other PowerPoints? No problem if not.
Where I'm at right now is I have everything downloaded and ready to go. Just haven't done anything past that.
Okay, no, that's good. And Jenny, do you have anything downloaded?
No, I saw where the axis is. I just haven't been able to watch it yet.
That's fine. I'm just trying to get an idea of where to go with today's little meeting and with my time constraint too. Pete, do you have everything downloaded?
No. I'm just calling in to see what this is about, and yeah.
All right, cool. So
see what I can get involved in the future.
We've progressed to sort of the point that I'll be showing right now, and let me share screen, entire screen. So Ryan, you've downloaded. No, this isn't the case anymore. You've downloaded the links on our group, so I'm just going to the group. In the file section, there's several files right now, and the most up-to-date ones are at the top. And we have an updated Illustrator file for the cave and an updated DAT file, which is the compass which has our raw data in it. In the discussion, there's a featured section, and we have featured there all the programs needed to kind of jump in here. And Jenny, it sounded like you're familiar with those, that they are a thing. So you know where those are. They're in the feature section. Ryan, it sounds like you've had them downloaded. So the only thing I really want to look at then is when you do have Illustrator downloaded, as far as how to hop into this quickly. The current map, oh, and where is the current map? We might as well show that. And the current map is currently featured as well, but it's also, if you click files, oh, I said this earlier, you could find the current map by clicking on this Word doc, and it'll take you to our OneDrive. And Howard, the document just keeps getting bigger and bigger because I'm just straight up attaching photos so everyone could work on the same file. I don't think there's any way to make it any smaller, because I was able to post it in the file section, but I'm not able to anymore. It's in a OneDrive now.
The actual Illustrator.
So this
you could try and flatten artwork.
Would that help with? So it's just going to keep growing from 220 because of the photos, though, right? Overall,
the photos are your scans.
Yep.
It seems a little bit big for that. You could go back. The other thing you could do is bring them in instead of 300 DPI.
Oh, right.
You know, bring them in because you're talking scans and you don't need a whole lot. Two things, actually. You can bring them in as black and white and something less than 300 DPI, and that will greatly reduce them. You can try flattening the artwork. That'll help some.
Okay.
You can flatten the artwork and then send it as a PDF. I don't know how well, I'd have to play with that to see how well that works.
Well, overall, it's just, I think, and Ryan and Jenny, you can let me know, but if you click on, if you click on that link, oopsies. If you click on that link, you'll see this. If you go to the OneDrive, you'll see this. And if you're able to download that and open it in Adobe Illustrator, then this is going to work just fine. And Kyle hasn't had any issues, but the OneDrive is a little bit newer still. But as far as jumping in and not going over anything new, what we have in the current map right now is pre-made brushes and symbols, so that anyone that wants to jump in, anyone that wants to jump in can basically just move scans and copy what's on the scan. And for you guys that are newer, we've got layers on the right here. And one of those layers is scans. And all we've been doing, and they're actually labeled as well by station. So you guys that were, Ryan, were you there you've been there a few times, right?
Yeah, I've been there twice now.
Were you in the last one in December or just the October,
Yes.
November? Okay.
December.
So you guys went beyond the D survey and started into the F and E survey. Do you remember what stations you did?
We started at D and then we laid down the F survey.
Okay, and then that's what the E team, or you guys connected to the E team, right?
Yeah, we got F10 and then other people connected like E1 to F10 through that like FA1, FA2.
So some earlier classes, we went into how to get this line plot into here, but we've already put that in. So your line plot, the raw data that you guys did last time, and you can see we had a little change in where the wall actually is there, is in, and all the scans, which I just put in really quick, are all conglomerated down here at the moment, but it's called it's in scans, and I just put them all in December 2023 for someone else to organize. but we'll see your guys' sketch sort of within all of this. What was crazy about the last trip is the E team did like 850 feet of survey, which was wild. And your team got a lot too for how short of a trip that was. So this is, I just put all the scans in there just so it would be ready for when we move on here. So what we do is we line up these scans with the stations. And again, this is stuff we went over before, but this was a scan of A3 to A4. And if I zoom in, you can see where A3 matches up with A3 and A4.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
So I'm still new to Adobe Illustrator. How are you sliding those scans over?
Okay, so I'm using this. Can you see this selection tool?
Oh yeah.
Over here. So that right now, what we want to do is just get you into the program and then go from there. So like, we don't want to, we would take a long time if we were to like go backwards and say, okay, this is how you upload scans. Well, the scans are already in there. So use the selection tool, and this will pull up when you pull up Illustrator, this vertical box. And the selection tool, you can just click on the scan and click and drag it.
Gotcha. I was on the hand.
What you're going to need to do, if you're going to help us organize the rest of these, you might need to rotate it. And there's a little rotate button here that says rotate tool. You can click R for rotate if that helps. But if you click it, whether you tap it or click R, you click a part of your scan, and then you can start to rotate it. So you kind of pick a focal point and move it from there. So like one big help right now would be if somebody just went in and laid out the rest of the scans onto the line plot. You can run into some issues with this if the scale's wrong though. So let's say this, like the red line is accurate data, that's what it should be. But sometimes you might get the scan and it like lines up like this. And it doesn't quite reach all the way. You can see A4 there is lined up, but A3 is not reaching. Well, you're going to have to expand it. And one way to do that is to just click and drag it, but you have to hold shift. Because if you don't hold shift, it's going to change. It's going to like warp the whole thing. And you can use Control Z to undo all your mistakes as well. But if you hold shift, you can extend a scan to match it up just right. In a perfect world, they all match up perfectly because we're scanning directly on the scanner, and we're importing the line plot at 1 to 20, 1 inch to 20 feet, but it doesn't always happen that way. So once we have those scans in though, like let's say you go in and you do that and you just put scans on top of each other, we can go in and draw the walls, or I can quickly show you how to draw the walls. You can see the walls are there and we just outlined them. We literally drew over them with like a pen. And this can be done with a mouse, and I'm doing just that. You can get a drawing pad for it. But a mouse with sensitivity is all I did when I was starting, and it did the trick. It only gets a little harder when you have to do like rocks and stuff, which we were going to talk about today, but we're not going to now. One issue that will come up if you do that is, and we have to talk about layers too, is you can have two scans sort of on top of each other. And that's okay if you're just lining them up. So if you lined up all the scans, we would just click them on and off as we're drawing in different ones. But how am I doing that? This layers bar, which will show up when you pull up Illustrator as well. When you pull up the file, it'll show up. we've got different layers right now. We got a layer for the walls, we got a layer for the line plot, and we got a layer for the scans. All the new scans that you worked on are in the December spot, but it's all of them, and they're not titled. But in order to in every scan, or if you click a scan, it'll show you which one it is by highlighting it. So I clicked this one and it highlighted it right here. It's A3 to A4. And you can use this little eye symbol to put it on and off. And we do that to turn them off and draw on them, and then turn maybe the other one on and draw on that one. Another way you could help, if you don't want to line up scans, the scans that are already lined up, let's take just the first couple. The scans that are already lined up, all we need is somebody to go in under a specific layer, and I'll get to that, but all we need is someone to go in and find the brushes and the symbols and swatches. This sometimes automatically pulls up, but if it doesn't, you just click window and find where it says brushes or symbols, and it'll show up. But it usually pulls up because we're usually leaving it on when we save, but if it doesn't show up, window, brushes or symbols. And all you do is, if you see, do you know what that, yes, do you remember what this marker means? Either Jenny or Ryan, not Howard.
So slope?
Yes, slope. So we have in the symbols a slope option. So what you can do is you can just say, you know what, I'm just going to go through the scans that are already there. And in order to do that, you know, you just want to make sure they're all on. But all you do, and I could pre-make layers, but I don't want to do too much. You'll click new layer. So we're drawing in something new, or we're adding symbols to something new. And I'm just going to call it slope for now. We can always reorganize some of this stuff later. But made a new layer. I'm going to save this to the most updated one, so that slope layer will still be there. And as we add more layers, they'll still be there, so you can just click and drag into them. But all you do is you click on that layer to say, I'm going to do stuff in that layer. You can lock other layers so that you don't put anything anywhere else on accident, which is a good habit. If you do, we'll fix it. But you just find your symbols and click and drag it over. Click and drag it over. Click and drag it over. And like, we need somebody to just do that on the symbols where appropriate. These are showing as stalagmites, but I thought they were stalactites. I'll have to double check that. But as it stands, we've got two options for that, just to match it perfectly. That's a little,
I think it's upside down, like the person held it the other way, because it looks like A1 is upside down.
Oh, and then they did. that would check out, and it was our first go at it. Let's say they're stalactites, and I can do a new layer and just call it formations for now. And I can put in these right in. Just click and drag them. So you don't have to make your own symbols. We've preloaded ones that are already to a nice scale. And we need help with just that if you're not into lining up all the scans. Once the scans are lined up, we're going to put the walls in down here. And that's also an easy process. You just click on the walls layer and you use the pencil tool and you just draw over them. But you guys are pretty fresh to this, and you know, just getting the program opened and playing with it for a moment and maybe trying to line up some scans or put some symbols in for us would be really helpful. One other thing that can be done, if you're up for it, we're going to keep going till this is considered child abuse. You can put in brushes. So these symbols are the ceiling change. This one actually was that was another mistake that they caught from them. But this one was right. It was a ceiling drop towards the passage over here. I'm just going to make a layer while we're here. Passage changes. And you can click on one of these, which they are labeled. If you hover it, it says ceiling 1. If I click ceiling 1 and then I might have done that backwards, and I click the brush, I can brush in the ceiling drop. Depending on which way you go, it'll put them forward or backwards, and you just got to play with it. And so we need people to just copy that as well. And that's really what we need right now.
Can you say again how you separate different components into the like layers? So like are you just putting like each different type of symbol in a different layer?
That's the safest thing to do right now. So if you're going to make slopes, just make a slope layer for now. And all you do is you click this little arrow, this little play icon, click new layer, and it'll build it in right there. And then just make sure you click it. And then when you drag anything on the map, as long as you're highlighted on that, it's going to put in that layer. You can always change it later too. So I could take a slope and I could put it in the formations layer. So pretty forgiving, and we'll fix up anything that doesn't look right, you know, as we continue to look at it. Does that answer that question? But I'm happy to elaborate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just playing with it and looking at the scans and how they're organized. So we're only doing the plan view right now. The ones that are labeled are easy to find. The December ones aren't going to be easy to find. We need somebody to kind of go through and label them in general. So if you just want to label scans, another thing that would help us a lot, if you click on any of these scans with the selection tool, so back over here, it's just that first arrow symbol that you can choose. If you just click one of these, it's going to highlight the whole layer. But if you scroll down into the layer, it's going to tell you which one you're highlighted on. And this is D9 to D4 to D9. So I know which one it is because when I clicked it to highlight it, I can double click and just say D4 to D9. And that alone, D4, that alone would help us continue this as well, because it's going to be really easy to place all the scans once they're labeled. And when you're done, the only part that there's sort of another part to talk about that we've been discussing. If you're going to work on this, we've been doing inside the cave course, there's chats. We have this actively, so there's a chat section. This is how we've been thinking about doing it. It's worked a few times. If you're working on the map, you just say working on map. So that way no one else is working on the same file that you're working on. You know, when you're done, or done and uploaded. You know, I don't think we're going to have this issue anytime soon, but we've got about 3 of us right now that have been jumping in on this thing and making additions. But when it is done, you'll need to go to that that file. So this one's got the Word doc that'll take you to this, which will take you to the OneDrive where you can upload the newest file. And we've been saying the date and the time. So the last change we made was 12/19/23 at 8:53. This change that we made today is 12/20/6:57. So I am going to save this And I'm going to change it to 1220 and 657. Once it's saved, you could just keep what we have selected checked for now. I wouldn't worry about that. It's going to take a little bit of time to save because of all the images right now, which I haven't figured out how to avoid quite yet, but I need to play with it more. But it will save. If in the event that it does black out on you, just give it some time, or like the screen goes white and it's trying to like say the program's not responding. Give it some time. It will save. I've only had that problem with other maps that got too large in the past, but this one just takes a little bit of time. Once it's saved, we're going to go back to this this Google or this OneDrive, and you can go ahead and click upload and upload the most recent one, which was, oh, where did I put it? Or wherever you put it. I don't even know. Climax Cave. There it is there. Ooh. Hey, Leo. Let's try it one more time. There we go. So now when you guys go in, if you got your Illustrator up and you go into the shared group and you click on the OneDrive, you will see the file in the OneDrive, and I think it's just uploading right now. Yeah, and then it's uploading it because it's kind of large. And there we go. So make sure when you jump in here, you click on the most recent one and download it, and you can start working on it from there. And that's pretty much all I want to do there with the time that we have, and with, oh, Kyle, when did you come in?
Yeah, I just joined.
Hey, Ryan and Jenny jumped in, and so I was just kind of going over how they could help us keep the map going. Either moving scans to match up with the most recent one, which has all the way to the new entrance now, or just putting in symbols and brushes. But it's kind of a lot all at once here, because this is sort of the 5th time we're doing this. I did not do the rocks, but I do want to show you how to do the rocks, Kyle, at some point. So we might do that next time. And I won't have the baby then either.
No worries, that works with me.
That's pretty much it. I'll post some to-dos. Right now, the to-dos are to label those scans, line them up, and put in the walls. And then on the older scans, get these symbols in. So if anyone jumps into that, post on the Facebook group chat that you're working on it. Upload whatever you come up with to the OneDrive, and we'll keep it moving. But right now we do have the other, all the way to the other entrance done. Any questions?
Hey, Bo, I got a couple quick things to ask you.
Yeah.
What are you scanning? What are you scanning your scans at? You shouldn't have 200 megs in this Illustrator file. I just opened it to see what was in it.
So
it shouldn't be that big yet.
Really? Yeah, I did 330, but the one time I went to like 150 DPI or 75 DPI, and we like couldn't read them. And Kyle, you remember those ones? I uploaded them, and then you were like, we couldn't even see them. But the handwriting was kind of bad to begin with on those. But at 330 DPI, should I still not have the issue?
No. Well, I don't think so.
But I'm doing JPEGs, not PDFs. Is that the problem?
No, that's not the problem.
Like, because if we can just keep it on the Facebook group and under 100 megs, because you can post to the Facebook group files under 100 megs, that's like smoother than this OneDrive thing, but it's all I got right now.
What? How big was it again? Did you say?
220. 220. And
okay, yeah. Well, we have to diagnose what's wrong with it. Then let me share this right now.
I'm all about yeah. I'm gonna rock the baby for a second.
There we go. Boy, this is slow. Okay, I don't know. Tell me when it finally decides to share.
Seeing it?
Yep, we can see it.
And Kyle, Howard's the one that made all of the PowerPoints that we've been using.
This whole thing is 120 meg. This whole map.
Does it have all the scans not embedded in it?
All the scans are there.
They're not linked images? Because that's what will do it. If I link all the images, it won't be that big.
Yeah, there's some. How big? Okay, see how many? I have this many images in this file, which is about the same as you do, plus all the color. So that's what I was wondering. Each of my scans are JPEGs, so these are all the scans. Not a great scan. There you go. There's a scan. That scan is only 500, half a meg right there.
Let me see what the raw scans are coming in at for me.
Howard, I like which map you chose to show off.
Yeah, I've been updating it. I've been working on it for a while. I'll present it here. Bo and I talked about presenting final maps. Or
mine are coming in at half. I only clicked on one, half a meg, but I'm wondering if you're for sure yours aren't embedded or linked, like yours are actually in there.
Yeah, they're placed. I'll look and see if I can figure out why you're so big.
Well, I'll look it up. It might be when I'm clicking upload, there's some options at the bottom, like some check boxes when you click place. And that's only on the old Illustrator, because I've been using the new Illustrator for like my other maps. But for this map to share it, I'm using the old one. But when I click, I don't know if you can you place something really fast? Well, you're on a newer.
Yeah, I'm on.
Right? It's just like 11.
I think it's 11, the CS4.
If you go 15. Click, if you can upload an image really quick, I don't know. Yeah, I'll play with it too.
Okay. Actually, somehow it's broken. By looking at the help, it broke this file.
Well, Kyle, I can do rocks next time. Howard can also teach rocks. But I gotta go with the baby here. But if you want to problem solve with Howard on our images and pull up our version too, more power to you. And then Ryan and Jenny, if you guys start on this thing, just reach out to me over email or text or Facebook, and I'll answer any questions you have if you try to pull it up.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, I don't think I could do anything like before Christmas, but if like I were to go in and like I needed like help with, could I like Facebook message you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be super. That'd be the easiest way. I think I posted my cell on the group somewhere, but yeah, if you just Facebook message me, that'll be pretty easy. And feel free to just go in and play with it and not save it, or save a version on your own end and come up with questions that you have. But once we get a couple more of us, once we have like 5 of us on this thing, it's going to be really easy, especially if you were just like, I just like doing walls and you just want to do the walls for now. And I'll fill in gaps where we need to fill them in, and Kyle's getting pretty good at it too.
One of the things I wanted to come in, I knew you were doing rocks. Rocks are my favorite part of the cave map. And so not only do I have the stuff that a Bo has on rocks, but there was, I did another presentation on rocks and color. And I was going to share that because working in monolith, I did rocks the old way, and then I added color, and it looks really bad. And I wanted to show people what happens when you don't do your drawing correctly. If you ever want to fill them with color, things
Howard,
just.
if you're up for it, go for it. I'm gonna feed the baby.
Okay, this may be a little bit advanced at this point, though. It's up to you guys.
I'm happy to learn.
Howard,
The
recording.
alternative is,
Also,
Howard, you could go over the basic Carto 4 slide.
we're recording,
Okay.
so we can always come back to it as well.
Okay. I'll go through this kind of quickly. If you guys have questions, understand that it's a little bit forward, but it'll at least get you thinking about how to draw things freehand in the future. And this is when I saw y'all were doing rocks, and I've told a lot of people this. Rocks are something that really make your map or break it. And the better you do it, I have to reopen this. I want to reopen this cave. There we go, because it busted when I hit the information. Okay, that'll open in the background. Okay, the better you make your rocks, the better your cave maps look, the more realistic. When we talk about putting on what I call geology, which is the floor drops, the ceiling drops, the stalactites, all those things, those all tend to be representations of certain things. We use all these different kind of strange symbols. We use T's and we use lines with dashes on them to represent things that are the geology of the cave. But when you start drawing rocks, now you're actually drawing something that you can see in the cave. And if you do it right, what I tell people all the time, they're like, how exact, and this is a surveying tip. People are always asking, how exact should my rocks be in my sketches? And what I tell people all the time is, if the rock is big enough that you can reference it while you're walking through the cave, like you tell somebody, go to the big rock and turn left, well, then that rock ought to be accurately sketched on your map, on your notes, and then it ought to be accurately sketched in your map, because it becomes a reference. There's a size thing. We sketch it 20 feet to the inch, and the cave, when it's on a map, depending on how big you generate your map, 20 foot to an inch, it could be just dirt. So there's a little bit of, I would like to sketch rocks as they really are, but to the point where they're never going to show up in your final map, it's going a little bit too far. And the reason why I wanted to share this particularly, and tell me, I'm switching between apps kind of quickly, and I broke it, so it has to come over here, and now it's really broken. This sometimes happens with Illustrator. Come on. I got to get it over to where I can scale it correctly. Just lock something I didn't need to lock. There we go. Well, this is just not wanting to play nice. All right. Well, forget it then. All right. So I'll go through this kind of quickly. I've done a lot of work with boy, I've just lost it altogether. Illustrator is refusing to want to play nice. Okay, I've done a lot of rock. Cave cartography has evolved over the years. We started with hand inking and hand drafting, and then we started doing a lot of computer drafting map. But more recently and more, color is becoming part of a cave map to help you in comprehension and understanding what's going on in the cave. Sometimes I use color to highlight the cave itself. So I'm sorry, this starts with color, then it gets to rocks. Okay, sometimes we use color to inform about characteristics. Here you can see that, you know, I've got sand highlighted here and water highlighted. Sometimes I use color for both purposes. And you can see here how we've outlined the cave a little bit to make it pop out of the page. But then I've also highlighted the color in the rocks itself. For all of these, there's a lot of tricks and techniques. So it's a little bit advanced now, but if you start thinking about these, especially when you start drawing rocks, it's going to help in the long run. Okay, so here's a cave, a cross-section of River Cave from Guatemala. And so how do I add some color to designate water and mud fill? First, you draw on the walls, and this is right where you guys are right now. And if you look at this, this is exactly how it looks right now in your Illustrator file. But what happens is when you try and put fill color, so usually when we draw, and I'm going to take yet another stab at Illustrator, and I may, you know, I'm going to close it. I'm going to close Illustrator and restart it in the background. All right, still being a son of a bitch. Okay, it may or may not close in the background. I don't even see it in here anymore. Oh, left the dog outside. Hang on.
Oh, between dogs and kids,
Baby.
dogs and kids.
I think I got Leo a little calmed down. Oh, that was fast.
Okay, so first we draw on the walls, but then when you fill, if you draw a line, you can designate it to fill with a color or not fill with a color. And sometimes when you designate to fill, what it does is it takes an arc and fills into that arc. So even though you have this cave and you're trying to fill in here, it wants to fill this arc. Yes. Okay. But what you want to do is you want to connect those lines. And then what it does is it forces the color inside. But it leaves past, like I want to leave this open, I want to leave this open. But when I close it to force the color inside, it ends up leaving lines where you don't want it. And there's a trick to do this. And this is something that took me a fair amount of time to figure out in Illustrator. What you do is you copy those walls. Okay. And let me go a little bit bigger. Let me go to, okay. So what will happen is you copy and you just go through and you hit copy. All right, you highlight, you see how I've highlighted all the walls, and then you copy them. I create a new layer, and you're going to end up, if you saw my map, you're going to end up sometimes with hundreds of different layers. I do layers for everything. And I do them because I do layers for everything that's similar, because if I want to change it, then I have a layer and I can pick that entire layer. So you're asking, should I put slopes in the layer? You can do that. I put slopes in the layer. Sometimes I put any ground effects like fill or rock or mud. I put those all in a layer so I can grab them all at the same time. But I'm going to set up a new layer. I'm going to name it a color layer, like watercolor. Okay. And then there's this great thing that Illustrator has. It says paste in front. So you go up to edit and you find it, and it says it right there, paste in front. What it'll do is take whatever you just copied and paste it right on top of itself. Okay. It'll be in the same layer. And what you have to do is it'll paste it as an entire layer. And what you have to do is you have to go into your layer, highlight the layer, and then you pull it down. It's a bulk move. And then you have an entire set of walls are in the new layer. Okay. Now I use that pen tool and I connect all the lines. I use the pen tool, and you click here and then you click there, and it'll create a line right across. And you close all the sections of the cave. Then I use, again, that stroke and fill, and I designate, here's the fill, and I add that fill. But then the next trick is you send the stroke, which is the line itself, to no line, and that line through there means no color there. And then, sorry, when you turn on those original walls, so I had the walls separated from the color has the color with no lines. The walls only have the lines. And what you see here is you have the lines, and you don't have lines where you don't want them, here and here. And that's a trick to bring color in. It's a little bit complicated at times to do different colors over this area. But once you get a idea of how to do that paste in front and closing those, and then taking that closed color and turning off the lines, it's really easy. And you can see right here, there are no lines closing these off here or here where you want open lines. And that's how you start thinking about color. Nowadays, probably 90% of the caves are in color. Or opposite, what I did is I did the same technique, and when you do something called, I think they call it fill or blur or something like that, or spray paint, and you can spray paint across this line, then you can come back and actually paint white color on top of it. And it really makes things pop out like this. Okay. I'm going to pause here for a second and see if you guys have any questions, or have I really gone overboard?
Is there like a key to show like what the different colors mean? Because I haven't really seen that many modern maps with color. So I don't know like what should be used.
The answer is absolutely. And if I could get my dang Illustrator to work, hang on, let me see. It looks like I'm going to have to pull up a PDF.
Color can also be used for different layers within the cave. So when you have a multi-level cave, for instance, Mammoth Cave is known to have eight levels is what they call it, or Fern Cave has what Bill Road claims is 21 levels. The coloring can help with designating on which level you're on. So there's multiple different ways to use color in the map as well.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing limiting your use of colors is your imagination. I'm opening PDFs because for some reason I broke Illustrator. There we go. Okay, so your question is, you know, what colors you can use? And the answer is any color you want to mean anything you want, as long as you put it in the key. And anytime anybody tells you, you know, what symbol, you know, that's not a regular symbol, or why did you put this different kind of line? It doesn't matter. When we look at maps, as long as whatever you've put in is in the key, the legend somewhere, then it's good. And that's why some maps tend to have, they say, I use, you know, NSS standard symbols or the International Cartography Standard symbol. I never use that. I always write my symbols down, because if they're a little bit different. So here you can see, you know, I have this watercolor called out. I should have rocks called out, and I don't do that. But I have different passage heights called out, and I match the passage heights to this profile, and then I match it also to this higher and lower level. And you'll see, you know, as long as you call out what the colors are, it doesn't matter. And you can see in my original, I had some incredibly garish colors in here, right? I don't like those colors anymore, and I've toned those down. But as long as that color is in that key somewhere, then that's fine. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. This is really what I wanted to get to, is rocks. Because again, let me see, I'm going to go back to my PDF now, because my PDF is less broken than Illustrator. And I'm going to zoom in. I've just started reworking this map. And I started reworking this map. Come on. All right, I've fixed some of these already, but I haven't fixed all of them. If you don't take care, this is what happens to your rocks, okay? See how these are kind of really strangely filled, and they're cut off in places, and they smear onto each other. That's what happens if you don't do things right. So what happened is, I did the original artwork on this map probably about 6-7 years ago, the original sketching. Usually I'll come home, I'll survey, and within a couple of days I'll come back and start doing the sketching, and then it'll sit around for a long time. But I came back in and started reworking this map, and now I found I did all the rocks wrong, and I'm having to go back and fix them. And that's why I wanted to hit you guys now, when you're first learning how to do this, so you don't make the same mistakes I did 5-10 years ago and have to fix it. Okay, done right, rocks with color add a lot to the map. Nothing is easier to draw and adds as much visual impact as rocks as the other details. I believe that 100%. Again, we're drawing something that really looks like it. You look down at this lower one, you have these symbols that mean things, and we have to know what they mean. But rocks, you don't have to know what they mean. You know it's a rock. And it's really easy to pull this 3D detail out of rocks by just adding a line here or a line there. All of a sudden, that kind of detail pops out, and you go, oh, that's rocks. And I know that this rock's on top of this rock. I know that this is a pile of rocks. Okay. If you start without color, start sketching rocks, what we tend to do is we're drawing, as we're sketching in the cave, we're taking shortcuts, right? So when I draw this rock here, and then I draw this rock underneath it, I don't draw this line from here to here. Okay, you can see I draw a line here, and I draw a line here, I draw a line here. Our mind interprets this as a rock under these other rocks. Okay, however, if you go and you turn off some of the others, they're just lines, and they're not consolidated information for Illustrator to fill. And that's what happened on that PDF, is those are just lines, and it fills things. I think I have a picture. See what it does? It goes from this point to this point and fills inside that. It goes from this point, and that looks like crap. That doesn't look like a rock. And you see, if you do that and you turn on color for all these rocks all at once, they don't correctly fill up. And this is exactly what you see in that PDF. is the rocks are not filled. Okay. This is a result of time saving and necessary technique of sketching when you're in the cave. So you see, this is how I did the sketching in the cave. I don't draw the line from here to here. This is just interpreted as a rock with 3 rocks on top of it. We're not going to change the way that you sketch in cave. You can't really do it. You can't do a full color 3D rock in the cave, but you are going to have to change how you represent them in the drawing program. To make this is how this looks. This is a good pile of rocks. See, there's none of those half corners or half filled stuff. But when you turn the color off, what you see is all of the lines do tend to go around, even though you can't see those lines anymore. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is close your rocks. I know this sounds really strange, but when you draw an Illustrator, if your lines don't match at the end of a circle, this is what happens. It represents incorrectly. And then you get this strange little thing.
Do you guys want me to, I got Leo slightly calmed down. Do you guys want me to show you one rock in the Climax map really quick? Like how to do it?
Yeah, why don't you take over for a second?
Then we'll jump right back into this. Hopefully this doesn't cause.
Yeah, I'm going to try and fix my Illustrator while you're doing that.
Come on, Leo. All right.
Go ahead. There you go.
So I made a layer called rocks. And in order to make a rock, and we're going to focus on closing the rock, so I'm going to close this rock. All you do is you click on the pen tool, which is the N key. It'll tell you that in the parentheses. You can also, when you click the pen tool, it's a little large right now, but you'll get the stroke that you can use. And I'm going to put it in 0.5 right now. So I'm going to do 0.5 for the weight of the stroke. And this is right at the beginning of the cave, A3. There's a rock here that looks like I could complete it pretty easily. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is way too, I'm in 800%. Usually you want to work in about 300 or 400% tops, but just to show for this example. So I'm highlighted on the layer. I'm on the pencil tool. I've chosen a weight of 5. So that's going to be a problem. Don't worry about that right now. And then I'm going to just trace the rock. And I'm going to trace it into the wall here just to make a complete rock. And I'm going to hold Alt. And when I hold Alt, it'll automatically combine the 2 sides for me when I get close. This goes into, if we double click the pencil, there's a keep selected. Usually when you're making rocks, you'll just make your circles and it'll keep it selected. So you could like make a change to your rock. If you didn't like that angle, you could trace over it and you can see it kind of makes these micro changes. But when we're doing the 3D that Howard's going to be talking about with the color, you're going to turn off keep selected by double clicking the pen. And now when I make a circle, it's not going to keep it selected because it's not highlighted in red anymore, which that allows us to then trace over the 3D part and have a rock. And what Howard's going to be doing here is he's clicking back on that original completed circle. And over here, there's this color scheme. We have the middle as nothing right now. We can double tap that and make it like red. And now we have a red 3D rock, which is dark colors are usually what you want to avoid. But all we're doing is we're using the pen tool. But how it's defaulted has we're taking off keep selected. We're drawing our initial entire circle around the rock and holding Alt to close it. And that's how you do it.
Howard, could you stop screaming, please?
Yeah.
All right, that's essentially drawing a rock.
All right.
Bo, you're working on Cascades map, right?
Yeah, have you been there with the team?
Yeah, so when you get to like doing the upside down part, I just want to say sorry for the sketch that you're gonna have to deal with.
Was that from the last trip?
Yeah,
I haven't
last
seen anything
weekend.
from the last trip yet.
Well, just it'll be a lot of fun.
Well, the whole thing has been a rough project because all the data didn't have like a north arrow or any scale. So it's amazing that we've gotten this far with it. So it's going to be better than what I was working with.
Well,
Promise
the
you.
issue is it's in meters, and
Yeah.
you know I like feet personally. It was
Well,
really
that's the thing.
hard.
You could have kept going in feet, and the data reduction thing would have like fixed it. But I don't. It's not a big deal because most of the cave is already done right now, and it's just a little bit more. But
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. Okay.
Kyle, you've been doing Illustrator a little bit longer. Did the rocks sort of make sense for you there? To play where you could play with it?
Yeah, it makes sense to start.
Coming back to it. All right. I finally got Illustrator to behave. Okay. Thought I did. There we go. Okay. So here's a problem, and this is so what I have is I have a something called details. This is most of the rocks, and you can see.
Share your screen, Howard.
I'm sorry. Oh, I have to hit this button too. Okay. If I turn off everything, let's turn off all the colors and the colors. Turn this back on. And then if I turn off this color, if I just briefly turn off this color right here, see, there's that gray. I have it highlighted. I'm going to turn it off. You can see what I have. I have a rock. I drew this rock like this, and I didn't close it. And that's what the problem is. Now, sometimes some of the rocks, especially the smaller ones that are all the way closed, will work. So what you have to do is you have to close your rock. If it's a new rock, if it's just a brand new rock, okay, I think this is what Bo is just saying. Now, see, I'm drawing this. I don't have to go all the way. See that little X down by the pencil? That means I'm in draw mode. But if I hit something, and then if I go hit the Alt while I'm drawing, see how it goes to a circle by the pencil? That means it's in closed mode. And so now I lift up and it automatically closes those rocks. And that's what you want to do. You want to make those rocks closed. Because what happens is if I fill this rock with gray, it does it like an arc. It doesn't close. But if I fill this rock with gray, it'll close. All right. We come back to that. And let me bring up the PowerPoint. Okay. So this is what we talked about closing rocks. Okay. It can be auto closed by holding down the Alt key while drawing. And I'm going to make sure Bo has this and he can post this. Watch your 3D effects. Some rocks need to be monitored that the 3D effects don't break the fill. So I have a rock like this and I have another fill. And what happens is that second line on top of it, the fill goes again from end to end and it breaks your 3D. So sometimes you're going to see some of these, you actually have to turn these off. The 3D effect, you have to turn the fill off to that one. Okay. And the best way to do this is plan ahead. one of the neatest things you can do with rocks is give it, on a 2D drawing, a flat drawing, you could give it the effect of a slope. So when you look at this sketch that I draw, it's obvious that I have a kind of a slope of rocks that moves upwards. This rock's under this rock, under this rock, under this rock. It's a little bit harder to do with color, but once you understand it, it's easy. I actually start when you're taking this and translating it from your drawing from your sketch into your drawing, I start at the bottom rock. And when I do things, I make things up that I'm not actually seeing. So if you look at this before, this rock down here, I'm missing this part of the rock. Well, I'm just going to make it up and assume that it goes up here. And it's really not going to matter because I'm going to cover it. So I draw the rock in. I draw in my 3D effect. I draw a whole line of rocks like that. And then I do the second layer on top of the first layer. Okay. And then I keep doing that. And so see, I assume there's rock up there, but I don't know it's there, but I can guess. And you keep doing that. Now, you can try and do it with color on. With the color off, but then you get so many lines stacked on top of each other that it's almost impossible to figure it out. Okay, and you can turn rocks on and off too in your layers, but that takes forever. So usually I just keep track and draw rocks on top of each other. And here I am with that slope that looks from the top to the bottom by coloring those rocks and adding them in. And it makes a lot of different effects. So we talked about rocks on top of each other. We talked about slopes. We talked about, rock pile. And this one was one that I had for a very specific cave that actually had piles, handmade piles of rocks throughout it. And you can see how that one obviously just cascades down. Okay. Large breakdown rooms can be done quick as well if it's not a detailed sketch to work from. And this is a classic. Some people will come in and let me blow this one up a little bit. And this is lot of breakdown right here. Giant breakdown. Didn't even write it. Okay. Sometimes you have to make things look like what they say, even though you didn't get a good sketch. I hate when people do this, but a lot of people do. So you're going to come in and you're you know what it kind of looks like. You're going to make things up and you're going to start filling in rocks, add a wide distributed layer of rocks, start adding a second layer on top of the first. Keep doing that, complete other rocks and do final adds, trying to cover as much room as possible if it's a breakdown room. And then I put color in behind. And so that's the finished rocks and that's the color that's filled in behind it. And that looks a lot better than, trying to do this one without color. That's my thought. All right.
Howard, thank you.
Is all I had.
And there's an intro to rocks. So the step before what Howard showed here that we'll post as well with this one. So how to do the rocks from the basics to how to add color to them will be posted with the after this. And then at the beginning, we talked about those ways that you guys could help add some scans, add some symbols. That would be great if you can do any of that, or just try it on your own and ask some questions. But I know it's been a long time here, and I thank you guys for your time and help.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Looking forward to getting in on this.
Jump on in. We need a few more people. It'll be so easy if we just get a couple more people doing this.
Start overwhelming the cartography section if we keep nailing so much survey, and then can't keep up on the cartography side. So any help is appreciated.
What are we focusing on the January 20th survey?
Yeah, so January 20th, we're gonna be headed to the I would say Daniel Boone National Forest area on that Saturday. It is going to be small cave surveys or ridge walking, along with just documenting geology within the cave. So if you look at the event that I put on our GCG Project Caves course Facebook page, I did put in a link to something called Survey 123. You should have that app downloaded onto your phone before going into cave. Um, it will have check boxes for different things like limestone layers, what kinds of fossils you're seeing, etc. And so a lot of what we're doing is geologic inventorying of those caves in the Daniel Boone National Forest to give back to the Forest Service as information. And then if there are some cave survey items that will be done as well. Ben Tobin and Aaron will be leading that Saturday with the intent that that Sunday will be the next Climax survey. So that's the 21st. GSP obviously is able to be camped at for that Saturday night. That Sunday, basically, because we've gotten the main plot through the main passage, entrance to entrance and climax, we'll get started into some of the side leads. So the maze still needs to get surveyed. There's a couple leads off of the B survey that go into like the birth canal area. Those have not yet been surveyed. So we'll start getting into a little bit more of the complex areas that can get tied in.
Sure.
Yeah, so hopefully that's a good weekend for everybody. 2 days of caving. The stuff in the Daniel Boone National Forest, I just want to also mention, is by permit only. And so we really want to discourage people from just going back and exploring those caves on their own because they are protected through the Forest Service. Ben just has a science study permit through the university he works for.
Stephanie, I wanted to mention when we go back on the survey, the maze passages off of DB and DA, the sketch wasn't quite accurate in the DB and DA area.
Okay.
So when we go to start those passages, you may want to take a look at just starting the sketch from those survey points.
Yeah.
Just so we can get that room a little better.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Cool. And I won't be there, unfortunately, but
okay.
Just wanted to.
All right. Thank you for the heads up. Cool. Any other questions or concerns? Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and thank you, Howard, for giving us a really detailed and more advanced look into things that we can prevent blunders on. So that's really, really awesome. All right. Well, again, next survey, Jen. Sorry.
Yep. Thank you to everybody. Bo had to drop off to put Leo to bed, so Leo is on his way to bed. But I don't. This is my first time joining this, and I appreciate it. That I've been through Climax Cave. Probably the first time was in 1994, wow. And I think the map that I've always looked at is from 1966, if I remember right. So I'm pretty excited to see an updated map and stop crawling down passages that I knew are now dead ends that the map kind of led me to go down. Yeah. But my 14-year-old, I'm hoping to get her down. That she wants to help with this. So absolutely. Maybe it's not going to happen in January, but maybe February we'll be down there to help with the survey. But I appreciate it.
Your old knees still let you crawl there, Pete?
I still can crawl. I just went through Misty 2 months ago. I drug a bunch of kids through there, and they were mad at me, and I crawled through fine. So thank you very much.
Cool. All right. Well, next survey, January 20th and 21st. And we'll obviously post more opportunities, and the Carto session will be soon after that. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Yep.
Happy
Have
holidays.
a good one. Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.
Thanks. Bye.
See you guys.